What's up everyone? Today we're here for my round 3 AFL tips and predictions. We've changed out the camera angle again. I think this is actually a good one for the tips, so we're going to keep it. But yeah, we'll be going through my round 3 tips in this video, and I'll be reviewing round 2, so let's actually do that right now. Now in round 2, I got 6 out of 8, again doing really well in my tips because I got in the top 5% with a good rank, and it's because of the Thursday game. I went the Saints, but not just that, in the upset, I went them by 15 and got the margin spot on. The first time I've done that for the opening game of the round this year. I went the Crows to beat the Cats. I think most did because it was at the Adelaide Oval. I really thought the Crows at the Adelaide Oval would be a force to be reckoned with, but so far that doesn't seem to be the case. You would have seen in my last tip video, yes, I said North in an upset. I almost never change my tips, but I was in the Fred cheer squad. Druzy last minute was like, you got to change your tip. The Dockers are going to win, and I'll thank him for that because the Dockers did end up winning. And I get an extra tip right, which is good. The D's beat the Hawks quite convincing. I got the margin pretty close as well. I said it'd be over 40 points. And then Sydney v Essendon, I got that one correct and I got the margin close again. I said it'd be 6 goals. Sunday games, I got the Suns tip wrong. I was almost going to go the Dogs. I was just about to change it like the Freo game, but I thought I'm going to leave it. Yeah, the fact that the Dogs brought a few plays in, the Suns are never good away for some reason. It should have made me tip the Dogs because the Suns were disappointing. Port v Richmond, I pretty much predicted this game spot on. I said that the Power would win by like 5 goals and have a big second half. That's exactly what happened. They won by 5 goals and had a big second half. And then the last game of the round, it was a pretty obvious result. The Giants won by 65. I think I said them to win by 69. So with all the tips I got correct, the margins were almost spot on, which is really good. Now in my tipping comp, I'm ranked 169th out of 1,319. However, I haven't used my Joker yet, which means I'm probably supposed to be ranked a little bit higher. And the person that got the best score with the Joker was JR50 with a score of 14. So he tipped a margin of 7 and a margin of 2. So realistically, if I had the Joker this round, I would have got the best score. Now looking through to see if anyone got a perfect score, and you get an extra point for a perfect score, and we had 10 people get a perfect score. Forzy Bars, Sodger's Cool, Ollie Goat, Brian Bradshaw, Noah Radficus, TRP, Linz Melvin, Houstonian, Black Flash, Pancake Pat, and Lil Von all getting a perfect score. So congratulations to those people. And Benji Bassist, who seems to have already used all of their Jokers up, has a score of 27 and a margin of 42. The people that have not yet used the Joker, Julian Perry, Graz, AFL Goat HQ, saving their Jokers for later and already have a tipping score of 18, which is really, really good. Now going through my fantasy comp, we've got 351 in the league. I'm ranked 89th. I got a score of 1,772. Fantasy Prodigy Lucas C in the lead at the moment with a score of 4,049. I don't know why I can't sort it by round points because I actually don't know who got the best score that round, but could be that guy. I'm not too sure. And then we'll go through my big calls, and I only need to get one last week. And to save time, instead of going through every single game, I'll go through the ones I got right, and then I'll go through the ones I got wrong, just putting it up on screen. So I ended up getting 2 big calls correct this week, which means I get to avoid a punishment once again. And the 2 that I got correct were the Hawthorn Melbourne game. I said that Hawthorn will go goalless in any quarter. And then I said that Port Adelaide will win the second half by 30 or more points, and they both happened. Now, the punishment that I would have had to do if I didn't get at least one correct was from Zachariah Highland. And he said that you can't cut your hair for the rest of the year. Well, that would have been a terrible one to get right. So luckily I get to avoid it. And because I got the most likes, you can see here, that comment cannot be commented again. And with all that covered, let's spin the wheel to see how many big calls I need to get for round 3. 3.
Could be worse.
3 big calls. Well, I need to get 3 big calls correct this week. And given it's an 8-game round, I do not see myself avoiding the punishment here. So this is your chance. If you got a good one, comment it down below because there's a good chance I'll probably have to do it. But let's just get into the tips. So the first game on the Thursday, we got the 2 winless, reigning grand finalists, can you believe it, between Brisbane and Collingwood at the Gabba. I will be streaming this game. It's always the annual, Easter Thursday matchup. And it could be a good one, but realistically, I'm looking at this fixture. And yes, both sides are winless, but I don't really see Collingwood having much of a chance here because they have been poor. The Lions did have the bye on the weekend. The Pies obviously had the Saints, and the Pies were just really disappointing, particularly after half-time. I thought St Kilda completely ran over them. A lot of their key star plays, just weren't really impressive. They haven't really been on this season at all, particularly like the likes of Darcy Moore, Sidebottom, Pendlebury, they're aging. Dacos had his worst game probably all career apart from that Hawthorn game. So a lot of, Collingwood star players just haven't really been showing up. And at the moment, it doesn't seem like they're realistically that hungry this year compared to previous years. I feel like they might almost be satisfied or they're just waiting. But why would they be waiting? I don't get it. So Collingwood, if they don't win this game, their finals chances are actually in jeopardy big time. Brisbane obviously had the bye, but they've been disappointing to start off their year. Should have beaten Carlton with the start they had. And then they also had a really strong start against the Dockers. So the Lions have seemed to be the chokers this season for some reason. You'd think at the Gabba, though, after not losing a game all year, they can't go consecutive weeks losing. I know Collingwood at their best are definitely capable of knocking off the Lions here, but Brisbane, fresh off the bye, they have more to prove this season considering they didn't win the flag last year. I think they've definitely got more hunger and desire at home. I don't think the Lions are going to drop this game, realistically. So I am going to tip the Lions here. I think they should get it done. Hopefully it's sort of close, but I think the Lions can get it done maybe by 4 goals. So we'll go 23 points. My big call, though, Nick Dacos is back to his best, and he will record 35 more touches and 1 or more goal. Next up on the Friday, the Good Friday game, we've got North take on Carlton at Marvel Stadium. Now, I might go to this game. I'm not too sure whether or not I'll end up getting a ticket. If not, I probably will stream it. So let's hope in the sake of me either going or streaming, this is a good contest. We saw a really good crowd last year for the Good Friday Clash, one of the biggest we've seen at Marvel in a while. And we did see a competitive North outfit. So hopefully for North's sake this time around, they can be competitive. We won't expect a win, I don't think, because Carlton currently, their form, I think it's a bit too good. They did have the bye last week, but before then, knocking off Richmond and Brisbane in 2 close games. So the Blues, to be fair, they're getting it done close. They used to be a poor team when it came to the close ones. They've certainly lifted their game when it comes to that. And if this is another close game against North, you could raise a few question marks in a way that they aren't able to get stuff done convincingly. They could be the Collingwood of 2022, perhaps. But yeah, I ultimately just can't really see North winning this game. North on the weekend, they look good in patches. They look really good early on. They got out to a 30-point lead against Freo. I thought they were going to go on and win the game, make my change of tip look really poor, but 9 goals in a row Freo kicked. North just sort of stopped in their tracks. Their run sort of started to wear out a little bit. The youngsters have been getting better though. Wardlaw, the Rising Star nomination, Sheasel, McKercher, the likes of those youngsters, they're going to be really good for the next 10 plus years. But at the moment, Carlton just have a better list. I think up forward as well, the 2 big Twin Towers should dominate really, Curnow and Mackay, so I'm expecting them to have a big day. And I think North can be competitive like they have been for times against the Giants and obviously against Freo early on, but it'll just be Carlton that are too strong, I think. So we'll go Carlton. We'll go by 35 points. Mackay and Curnow combined for 8 or more goals as my big call. The next up on the Friday night, the second Friday game, Fremantle and Adelaide at Optus Stadium. This is a really interesting game. These 2 sides have surprised me this season in good ways and bad ways. For starters, Fremantle, I didn't think they'd be 2-0, and even 2-0, the way they've been playing their footy, they've been really, really exciting. They're back to their 2022 form, and they're definitely a finals chance this season when I really didn't think many had them, near their 8 this season. They thought with Freo's, acquisitions they lost, maybe they'd be almost a bottom 4 side. And then Adelaide, everyone had them in their finals just about. I had them 3rd. So their start to the year have been disappointing. The Crows, that you could maybe excuse the game against the Suns, although that was a pretty poor game for the most part. It's hard to start excusing them again when they're, at home, perfect conditions, and they put up a terrible display against the Cats like that. They probably could have lost that game by more. They were only just scraping in because of the fact that Cats were kicking behinds late. Walker and Fogarty, they were kind of non-existent. They just played shocking games. Their midfield got beaten up by the Cats. Tom Stewart did exactly what he wanted to against Adelaide. Matty Nix had some headaches in the coach's box. I don't really know why he continued allowing the Crows to kick it to bloody Stewart. So, Adelaide at home, I thought they would have beaten the Cats. They can't even win at home now. So this is an Optus Stadium side who have played really well for their first 2 weeks in the Dockers. Sarong and Jackson have been just about All-Australian. Well, they are right now would be in the All-Australian side with their form. It's hard to see the Crows winning this game given the form. I think Adelaide need to get the season back on track, and a win here could be certainly on the cards because what do they have next week? They've got Melbourne. So I'm still going to back in the Dockers though. Their form has been too good not to ignore. I'm not going to be against the Dockers when they've been giving me a lot, but I can see the Crows winning this game if the Dockers are just slightly off because of the fact that the Crows really need to win this game. But the Dockers for mine, winner by 9 in a pretty good game. A big call though, there are 7 or more behinds combined than goals overall. Next up we got for the Easter Saturday clash at 4:20 PM at Marvel Stadium, the Bombers take on the Saints. This is an interesting one. I reckon this could be one of the closer games this round. I think the most even when it comes to the odds, so it definitely could be a good contest. Essendon, their home game, and at Marvel. For some reason, the fixturing, whenever the Saints and the Bombers take on each other at Marvel, the Bombers seem to always get it done convincingly. The last 2 times, the Saints were expected to win, and the Bombers just come out firing. So I'm a little bit nervous for this one, although I'm not rating Essendon all too high this season. You would have seen my ladder predictions and seen what I had to say about the Bombers in my pre-season vlog, but who knows with this one. Essendon can win this game. Essendon have been alright to start off the year, but I just don't really have a massive read on them. They played against one of the best sides in the comp in the Swans. They did take it up to Sydney for a lot of the game, and it managed to score over 100 themselves. So there are some positive sides. I just think their defense is a little bit too weak. Obviously with no Redmond. They won't have Wright this week either, but the Saints as well, they're not going to have King, they're not going to have Henry, they're not going to have Wood. So a few outs. I don't know if King is getting off the suspension. I really don't think so at this rate of time. I think on paper the Saints are a better side. They've proved more than the Bombers have the first 2 weeks, and they should win this game, you would think. First game at Marvel for both of these teams. I think Essendon will definitely come out of the blocks earlier, but I think over time the Saints will just have a little bit more stamina in them and a bit more endurance, and will run out the game slightly better. So I'm going to go the Saints to win this game. Obviously the Saints, I'm not going to tip against us against the Bombers. And I go for this one. The Saints win by 20 points, but my big call that the Bombers actually lead for longer but lose the game. And the game on the Saturday night, this should be a good one. Port Adelaide and Melbourne at the Adelaide Oval. Both these sides are in some good form. They've won 2 on the trot. I said in my ladder predictions that both of these sides wouldn't make finals, but right now, it looks like that won't be the case. We are still early into the season. To be fair, the Power and Melbourne have had relatively easy last 2 games, but still, they've been pretty impressive. Port Adelaide over the weekend scored a big score over Richmond, had a really strong second half. I think they won it by over 40 points, but Richmond definitely came out to play early on. Zachy Butters was BOG in that one as well, which is good for fantasy. And Melbourne, at the MCG against Hawthorn, to be fair. But to be fair, I didn't watch a second of this game, so I can't take too much out of it. But it seemed to be one of those just clinical defensive displays from Melbourne. Not allowing Hawthorn to score only 38 points and not scoring heaps themselves, but just still winning, quite comfortably in one of those kind of crappy games. I think we saw something similar with a very similar scoreline between these two sides last year. So it is at the Adelaide Oval, though. I think this will be closer than what some are saying. Melbourne could win this game, but I still don't have full faith in the D's, particularly away. So I'm not too sure. I think Port Adelaide at home, I think they've got the stronger midfield matchup leading into this one, but it's going to be an interesting midfield battle, to be fair. It'll be a good game, though, I reckon. A lot of lead changes, close one. Port by 4, though, that'll be my tip. And big call, though, there'll be no more lead changes throughout the entire game. The next game we have this time on Easter Sunday at 1 p.m. The Dogs and the Eagles take on at Marvel Stadium. The Doggies had a really, really important win over the Suns last week at Mars. Can't take heaps out of it because I feel like the Suns still away just are a different side for some reason. They're just such a weaker opponent for some reason, but still, to win by 48 points. Waitman looked really good, kicking the 6 goals. Bontempelli, he was phenomenal as captains. The Dogs are starting to get back into form. Beveridge is starting to make, the slightly better decisions when it comes to picking the ins and the outs. Sanders as well looked good, for ones that didn't bloody decide to sub him for some reason. And obviously West Coast, they've been sitting at the bottom of the ladder all year for the last 2 seasons, and they're already at the bottom of the ladder after round 2, and probably don't look like escaping that position for the rest of the year. Against the Giants, I watched bits and pieces. They started decently with a few goals or in the contest, but then the Giants were just way too dominant. They just almost didn't apply much pressure at all, the Eagles. The Giants ran freely and did what they pleased. They could have won by more if they wanted to, the Giants, to be honest with you. The Eagles couldn't score a goal for 2 quarters. I know the Giants are one of the best sides in the comp at the moment, but it's just concerning for the West Coast Eagles. The improvement's only slightly shown, but they're still losing most games by 50 plus points and should be losing by 80 plus with the way they're playing. So I know the last matchup between these two sides, the Dogs lost in an unbelievable upset, but I'm not tipping that this week because I don't think that'll happen. The Dogs should be good early on and they should make the most of this opponent, and I think they'll win big. I'll go the Dogs to win it by 51 points. A big call. The Dogs have 11 or more individual goal kickers. Next up, also on the Easter Sunday, we have Richmond and Sydney at 4 p.m. at the MCG. I think I'll be streaming this one after I do things with my family for Easter, so expect a live stream for this game. And I think this could be actually a half-decent game. Richmond are starting the season 0-3, Sydney 3-0, so you look at the ladder, you sort of look at form and go, this should be a pretty easy tip. And I think, yeah, Sydney should be winning this game, but I think the Tigers have been competitive the last 2 weeks, more competitive than what I would have imagined against some strong opposition in Carlton, Port Adelaide. They've had a pretty difficult start to the year when you think about the Tigers. They start off by playing Gold Coast and Gold Coast. They're a really difficult side to beat there. Then they play Carlton at the MCG. They seem to be, a top 4 side. Port Adelaide, and then they play Sydney. So, a very difficult start for Richmond, it has to be said. Sydney obviously beat the Bombers on the weekend. They look really good for a lot of the game, although Essendon definitely took it up to them. But, you always just had a feeling Sydney were going to win that game with their class. They pinpointed targets really well. I thought their midfield was quite strong. Heaney had another really good game. I thought Goulden was back to some good form. Papley kicked 4 goals. So the Swans are looking pretty good. They're looking on track for definitely a top 4 finish and maybe winning a grand final this season. Richmond looked to be that bottom 4 side. I thought they were pretty good against Port from the bits I saw in the first half. If you watch my round 2 vlog, you would have seen me head to the game, but it was in the last quarter. So all I saw in the last quarter was Port Adelaide dominate and kick 5-1 goal. So I don't know what to think of that game much, but I think Richmond can make it competitive again against the Swans here. And I think it could be a good game. It's just Sydney's class, I think, should get over the line. And I think Heaney is set for another big game as well. So yes, Richmond could lose this by a lot, but I don't think it'll happen. I think City will win it by 17 points. And my big call is that there'll be a 9 or more goal opening quarter. And finally, of course, the last game, we've got Hawthorn and Geelong for the Easter Monday clash on the Easter weekend. I hope to be going this one. I'm pretty much confirmed to go. It should hopefully be a half decent game, but I'm not too sure, to be honest with you, because at the moment the Hawks aren't looking very good. They're winless, and the Cats, they're undefeated. The Cats are looking really strong to start their year off, and they could be a sneaky chance for the top 4 when a lot of people had them out of their 8. I didn't have them, well, I had them 11th, but I thought that they could maybe make finals, but I also thought they could maybe slip. So yeah, I don't know. I think this year could be still another decent year for the Cats, and they just seem to always be really good. They seem to always gel. This Cats side against Adelaide, they beat them by 19 points at the Adelaide Oval, when it's almost impossible to beat the Crows at the Adelaide Oval. So the Cats were really good. Brian Myers was one of their best. You know, obviously Tom Stewart. Up forward, I thought Cameron and Hawkins were also pretty good, like getting back to some of their good form. And obviously Hawthorn against Melbourne. Yeah, they just couldn't score enough. I don't know what to say, really, because, again, I didn't watch a lot of this game, but it just seemed like a flat performance from the Hawks. Yeah, their midfield didn't really show up. You know, Newcomb's been out of form up forward. But, yeah, I really don't know what to think of the Hawks this year. I haven't really been able to watch heaps of games from Hawthorn. So this is a chance to see, you know, how they play, have a good read on them. Hopefully they'll make things interesting, because it's an Easter Monday clash. It's a good rivalry. I hope that the rivalry can bring out a good close game and maybe even a Hawthorn upset. There's a chance, but with Cats' form right now and Hawthorn's sort of stagnant, you know, form at the moment, I thought they'd, you know, get a little bit better this year. They haven't seemed to show that, and I'm not going to tip them. I'm going to go the Cats win it by 24 points. My big call, that Hawthorn win 2 quarters. The Hawks are going to actually play half decent for once this year. The Hawks are actually going to play half decent footy and hopefully make things competitive. And just like that, those are my round 3 AFL tips and predictions. The Giants and the Suns have the bye, and I'm honestly looking back at these tips. I've basically gone all the favourites. It's probably going to be a pretty easy round to tip when you think about it. That'll be it for my video, round 3 tips. Hopefully you enjoyed, and if you haven't already subscribed, I'd love it if you could subscribe and join the channel for this season. Leave a like, comment down below a punishment, and check out my last video, the round 2 AFL vlog. I thought that was a pretty good video. So yeah, until then though, I'll see you soon in my next one. Have a good one.